From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant. You already know that. I'm here. I'm Aslan. Corey's here as well. We're going to talk about the Noles a little bit today, but we went a little bit later than usual to record the show for Monday. Wanted to make sure we got the Lakers-Hawks game in, Corey. LeBron takes down your boys in the Staples Center. How do you feel about that?
It's just as well, buddy. I want the Hawks to lose as many games as possible.
All right.
There's zero reason for them to win that game. I want them to lose every close game and then get one of the kids from Duke.
Okay. How about the Noles basketball team, man? Men's team looks pretty solid still, huh?
Yeah, good dub on the road. I don't know if Tulane's going to be anything special this year, but, you know, this team has struggled. Even the last 2 years when they've been pretty good overall, they've really struggled on the road. So them getting a true road win, and it looked like that place just from the pictures and the TV, the TV feed or the ESPN feed looked kind of full too. So it looked like almost like a real atmosphere. So that's a good test for these guys. I mean, they shouldn't be bothered too much by road games because they've been doing it for so long now, but still nice solid W, proving that the Gator game wasn't a fluke.
All right, cool. All right, that's about all I got for you, man. Hope you had a good weekend.
Great. All right, we'll see you tomorrow after we'll talk about Willie's press conference. Great.
Yeah. All right. I guess let's talk about that game. I was in attendance. You were able to watch it in the catbird seat in the comfort of your own home. We weren't able to exchange any sort of notes or anything before the game, or after the game, rather, before we did the show. What do we talk about now, Corey? What do we talk about, Corey? They're, 4-6 now?
4-6,
consecutive losses against, or 3 consecutive losses in which they've surrendered 40 or more points and have lost by 20 or more points.
Yeah, well, no, come on, buddy. I think they lost to NC State by only 19. You need to get your facts right. It was 47-28. Let's go. Don't shortchange this group.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, man, it's hard to talk about. It's an embarrassing run. Notre Dame didn't have their best quarterback playing. That quarterback's not very good, and you still gave up whatever it was, 30. What they have 34 at half, 32 at half. Right. Now, again, maybe the first possession doesn't need to be at your own 2-yard line. That's not a great way to start a game, and then you fumble again 2 possessions later, so they get it at your 15. But still, man, there's not a whole lot redeeming about this football team. I unless it's a redshirt deal, I will not and do not understand why number 12 is taking snaps for the rest of this season. He wasn't any good at all in that game. He was bothered by a couple of drops. One by Ontario Wilson, which was a big one. It was a really good throw, just went right through his belly. But other than that, I thought they actually ran the ball kind of well.
Yeah.
For them. And then you're like, okay, well, that's something to build on. Cam Akers looked like Cam Akers a little bit again. I like the wild Cam. I like them going under center for a QB sneak. And what did it matter? 2 touchdowns. It is what it is, man. It's an awful offense. It's the worst in Florida State history. And this is one of the worst teams, and certainly one of the worst teams in recent Florida State history, but like post Daryl Mudra, you would have to argue that it is the worst team. I thought last year's was the worst. This year has knocked that one off the list because last year's team, while it was also 4-6 after 10 games, just like this year's team is, wasn't giving up 150 points in 3 games. So it's the worst season most of us have ever seen from Florida State football since we've been alive.
Oh, man.
I know we have some older listeners that probably went through the Larry Jones and Daryl Mudra years, but it's you go into games. Florida State is at a place now where you watch some of that game and you're like, you know what? I thought there were some nice things accomplished. They did some things right. You see them growing a little bit. Great. Oh, they lost by 30 points to a team that beat Pitt by 3. By the way, Pitt must be world beaters. A team that beat Ball State by 8.
Pitt's going to win the Coastal, brother.
Yeah, man. So that's what's so again confounding is like it even seems like there are some bright spots, and I thought there were. And then still, I thought the offensive line might have played its best game of the season.
Yeah.
What did Francois get sacked once? Where he kind of spun into one?
I'll look it up. Keep going.
Yeah, I thought he got sacked once, maybe twice, but where he spun into a huge loss. But man, and they opened up holes, and Cam Akers ran the wild cam the one time and ran it how it's supposed to be run and made a dude miss and scored a touchdown. So you saw these things. There were some nice catches over the middle. Nooney had a couple nice catches. DJ Matthews. Terry had a couple of really nice first down catches and throws that he wasn't wide open, but he made tough catches, and it just didn't matter. Your defense got obliterated for over 300 yards rushing, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Man, there's so much to unpack. I'm trying to think where to begin. Let's start here, Corey, with kind of what you touched on. And I mentioned this with Ira when we were doing the wrap-up in South Bend. And I think I've mentioned it a few times here on the show, is the fact that I was never looking at this. I guess after the whole Syracuse debacle, I wasn't going to make this a sort of week-to-week referendum in terms of let's see what this team is doing week-to-week in terms of growth. Let's build this thing so they play their best game at the end of November against Florida, and we can then maybe judge what the season's going to be like. That game looks even frighteningly more ominous and a loss, I think, at this point. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not saying Florida's good, but what is this Florida State team? Who has this Florida State team beat? Who has this Florida State team been able to be competitive with in the last 4 weeks? And compare that to what Florida has done. What's the reason to believe that Florida State's going to somehow there's no switch that's going to be flipped here in the next 2 weeks, and that's something we've maybe kind of held on to. Maybe not you, Corey, but maybe me in some dark recesses of my heart that they would figure this thing out. But to my point, they are doing good things at times. And I know that's a really low, terrible bar to judge a team like Florida State at, but like you said, I think the offensive line played somewhat decent. Juwan Williams, I mean, he went out there and didn't get humiliated, which, I mean, that's kind of a backhanded compliment, but after what he's been dealing with at the beginning of the season, that's got to be a step in the right direction. Like you said, everything about Cam, like they're doing good things, but when it's all said and done, they're still losing by 3 scores every single week. Is that even – is it redeeming to take little fragments of what they're doing and piece it together when it's all said and done to give an idea of what they're going to look like next year? Or is this throwaway season a throwaway season in more ways than one?
Yeah, man, I just don't know. I guess we'll have to answer that moving forward. We'll have to answer that really a year from now or 2 years from now. I mean, that's not I know it sounds like a cop-out. I just don't know. There's part of me that thinks, okay, we'll look back on the way the offensive line played against Notre Dame. And, I think Cam Akers averaged 6 or 7 yards a carry. Jacques Patrick, I think both of them ran for like around 60 yards, which hasn't happened all year. And you're like, okay, that's a positive step. And then you want to take a step back and go, are you serious, man? They ran for 100 yards. That's not good. But for Florida State, it's like you want to set off fireworks because it's something we didn't even expect them to run for 100 yards. They had 2 yards, 10 yards of total offense, and you're like, you want to be like, wow, yeah, man, that's not bad. Notre Dame's got a real defense, and you put up 3 bills on them. Well, come on, that's not anything to be excited about. That's less than the season average, and so. There's a part of me that thinks, okay, we'll look at this and say maybe this was the step. Maybe they realized they could block. Maybe they figured something out. And they did go under center. They made some changes where you're like, okay, they're just not going to sit and do the same nonsense over and over and over again. But then there's another part of me that goes, man, we're about to go through an entire season where there is not one redeeming moment. Like, even in 2007, that season was miserable. But you knocked off number 2 Boston College. Yeah. You could rally up at times and play well against teams. In 2006, okay, that was another bad season. But you were tied in the 4th quarter against Florida, who went on to win the national championship. And then you look at this season and you're like, what is there at all to feel excited about? He's going to continue to play a quarterback that doesn't belong in this system for reasons that are beyond me and will not throw the ball up to Tamorrion Terry down the field. How many times did he throw it down the field to Terry? Once? Like an actual go, and he got interfered with. Is that it, or am I missing another one?
That sounds about right. Also, according to Pro Football Focus, nobody got credited with surrendering a sack. There were 3 hits, 12 hurries on Francois.
Yeah, and some of that's him. He does hold on to the ball, but again, I thought the offensive line played well. I don't understand, and I don't want this to be just a gripe fest for 30 minutes. What did we expect? We all knew this was going to happen. You watched how one quarterback decides to just throw it up to the best player on the field. The other guy, they used him on Saturday night. I don't think I'm overselling it. I think this guy is one of the most talented players to ever play at Florida State at the wide receiver position. He's tall, he's got ball skills, and he can really run. And they used him as like a Tony Gonzalez. Let's just throw 5-yard slants and keep the chains moving. Meanwhile, Notre Dame, they'll just throw it up for grabs in the end zone. Why can't Florida State throw the ball up to 15 in the end zone? Do the Florida State DBs in practice, do they actually defend it? And so they don't think that 15 can do it? Because I don't understand why that guy, anytime you're inside the 15 or 20-yard line, and safeties can't really help out over the top, you should just be throwing it up to that dude. And they just don't. And I will beat this drum until that guy leaves next year and becomes a first-round pick. That I cannot believe they don't target that dude more in the end zone. But either way, it doesn't matter. It was the same offense we'd watched the first 7-8 weeks of the season. A little bit better running. Jondre Francois averaged 4.5 yards per attempt, which is absurdly low. His quarterback rating was like a 38. Again, it was a good defense. It wasn't NC State, but I'm at a loss for what the purpose of that was. I guess we'll see this coming week if maybe it was just, hey, let's not hurt James's confidence against Notre Dame. Let's see what he can do these last 2 weeks against BC and Florida at home. Or maybe Francois is the quarterback and they're just riding and dying with this guy in 2018.
Okay. Well, that's one thing. I mean, the quarterback situation, I don't know. I mean, they want to redshirt him, and
great, because the James Blackman's going to be the key in 2021.
Hey, man, I follow with you. I just.
But yeah, the bigger issue obviously is what's happening up front, and not on defense. They can't stop the run at all. That's something we thought they could do well, and they actually did do well. They did that well against Miami, and they did it well against Clemson. And we thought, okay, well, that's something they can hang their hat on. Well, no, can't do that anymore either. The next play DeMarcus Christmas makes this season will probably be his first or second. The linebackers they're just not all that good. Much like the secondary, they're just not all that good. I would like to say though that not just because of the pick, I thought Stanford Samuels played a really nice game.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's good to see moving forward, man, because he's just a sophomore. I don't know what happened to Nasruldeen. I don't know if he got hurt. I guess we'll find out later this week. But he only played 3 plays, and I think they were the first 3 plays, and just didn't play the rest of the time. And I don't know if they were mad at him for what he did on the fade route. Not that he's you're not putting him in a real position to succeed there. And also, Florida State DBs certainly don't deserve the benefit of the doubt. But holy moly, with those 2 catches!
Yeah, what are you gonna do? I mean, they were as close to in phase or whatever Harlan Barnett wants to call it, and I mean they're just getting circus catches made over them. It's
the one kid, the second went over Westbrook, where Westbrook of course doesn't turn around, but the kid is in by a millimeter before his heel lands, and it's just it's crazy even through the ball. And he reaches around Westbrook in the corner with a blade of grass between his foot and the end zone, and he makes just a circus catch. I mean, sometimes it's crazy luck and it's other guys making plays, and that happens. And your receivers, aside from one, really don't make plays like that. But the defense, I think the defense, what we all realize the offense will, we have to imagine that the offense will get better as Taggart gets more players in here and runs this system and people get more comfortable with it and they get a better line. But we thought the defense was already kind of a solid group. Not great, but solid. But the defense is, it's turning into the offense. It's almost as bad as the offense now. And Boston College is coming, and Boston College is going to want to run for 350 yards. So we'll see what this team is made of this week for sure. Same with Florida.
Man, see, every time I want to talk about something, you bring something else up, and I have to pivot off of it.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, I keep talking a lot. I'll be quiet.
No, I'm not saying to be quiet at all. You're bringing up really good salient points. I kind of want to get back to the offense, but defensively, it's the front four is doing nothing. I mean, they didn't even get a tackle for loss. They didn't get one single tackle for loss. And they were playing against the backup quarterback for Notre Dame and couldn't pressure him at all. Linebackers, what can you say? The defensive backs, they were in position to make it. I mean, I guess, but that's no different, though, right? I mean, against NC State, they were there. They're with these guys stride for stride, but for some reason, they are not turning around. They're not playing through the hands of the receiver. So these technique things that are problematic are not being remedied, man, or they're resorting to old bad habits. I don't know if this is a confidence thing. I don't know how much of this is a talent thing. I don't know how much of this is a coaching thing. All of it's on the table, though. We can't keep making excuses for everything that goes wrong and pin it on somebody. We try to quarantine either Taggart, or we try to quarantine the kid being at fault, or we try to not blame Jimbo, or we try to blame Jimbo too much. Like this, we're just watching a very bad football team, and it shouldn't be this bad in week 12 now, or week 11 of games. There's obviously a bye week thrown in there. They've played 10 games. It's bizarre to me that they continue to look this bad on a week-to-week basis, and now they're regressing on the defensive side of the ball. Like, how does that even happen? No one's got hurt. I think Dontavius said something about the fact that it feels like teams are now scheming against them. And I don't know if earlier in the season teams were doing something, if they've noticed something on tape where they're no longer attacking Florida State in the ways that previous teams failed at, and they figured something else out. But hey, man, this is like 3 weeks of them figuring it out. Where's your counter move if you're on defense? It's so frustrating, man, because, again, I think there's good things that are happening on the scene, but how can you even feel remotely good about it when the ultimate end product is losing games by huge sums of points? And this is a college football season that I think that we can all agree is not showing the best teams that we're going to be talking about in perpetuity. Maybe this Alabama team, maybe the Clemson team. But, like, that Notre Dame team didn't impress me. Like, that wasn't – I didn't see that Notre Dame team like, damn, wow. Like, they are head and shoulders, light years beyond what Florida State has in terms of physical ability or schematic understanding of what they want to run. Like, they're just going out there and not falling over themselves. They're not doing stupid things. And I know that sounds so, like, vague and just lazy, but turning the ball over the way they turn the ball over. Love Cam. Damn, how do you fumble that ball? How do you drop that pass if you're McKitty on the first play? I don't know, man. But I want to get back to the offense real quick because I feel like Walt has a better feel for what is going to work for this team. I feel like it does look different than what we saw the previous weeks in which Willie called the plays. But again, I guess it comes back to the fact that they're still losing, and they're losing big. So is this a positive development, what he's been able to bring to the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks better, sure. Again, it's all, and I hope people understand that everything I say is couched with the knowledge, is qualified with the knowledge that they had 300 yards and 13 points. So again, I ain't talking about Charlie Ward and the fast break. I know what we're dealing with here. But yes, the last 2 weeks, it's looked better. I think if his quarterback had been better, I'm certainly not blaming a loss on DeAndre Francois. They could have had Winky and Jameis back there taking turns. It wouldn't have mattered. But his quarterback didn't make some throws that were there. And then obviously his receivers dropped some balls too. Again, I question why you take Terry out to run a go with 80. Anyway, so I won't even get into that again. I'm not done with that drum for the day. But I do think, I think you look forward and you think, okay, well, yeah, it definitely runs better. There's more chunk plays. In my opinion, they're hitting more chunk plays. They have a better pace. And they scored 13 points. They could have scored. I mean, they were in Notre Dame's side of the field a lot. I mean, I only think they punted a couple of times. Like, he went for it on fourth down a lot because they were always in pretty good position to go for it on fourth down because they were on the 20 or the 25 or the 30. They were on that side of the field. It's just they're not good enough, obviously, right now up front or anywhere to sustain drives against very good defenses. A lot of them. They had one really nice drive for a touchdown. They had another drive after one of the interceptions, a short drive for a touchdown. Other than that, not great. I was thinking more big picture with this thing, in that I think maybe the worst thing to happen to Taggart is the way Florida State ended last season. Now that was, literally they beat 3 teams that didn't go to bowls, including Delaware State, and they beat Southern Miss. They looked good, but that was the quality of competition they were playing. And you look at this schedule, and I'm of the opinion now that we have hindsight, last year's team was a 4-win team too. Then instead of playing Notre Dame, it got to play Louisiana Monroe. That would have been a loss last year. Instead of playing Duke, it had to play Virginia Tech. So that's a loss. Instead of playing this Florida, they played that Florida. Excuse me, sorry. So, you play who's on the schedule. That's not Willie's fault. Again, he gets paid a lot of money to win games regardless who's on the schedule. But we so overinflated in our minds. Maybe I should just speak for myself. What they did at the end of last season, that 4-game winning streak against just not good football teams, and thought that, okay, this team really wasn't a 3-6 team. Well, yeah, it was. This is what it was last year. It's just gotten worse. Because, again, like I pointed out, last year, they didn't lose by 40 and 50 points every game, except one. So, I think now that we know what this team is, do you look at 2017 differently? Like, man, I pointed out, they were really close to being a 4-win team last year against an awful schedule and really easy schedule. Imagine that team playing this year's schedule. Same deal. We'd be looking at the same record. Maybe worse. I also don't think they'd be losing by 50 points either.
I guess that's a unique perspective, which is something that's good because we're just rehashing the same sort of, I guess at some point, tired arguments just about, I just don't.
They're not even arguments. I think we agree.
No, yeah,
it's just a bad football team.
How though? At its most simplistic core, how does this, they just don't look, it's a constant, it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like they're going full speed down a hill, and there's just like disaster lurking around every corner of every single play that they take the field for. Whether it's taking an extra point, whether it's fielding a kickoff, whether it's defending a punt, whether it's running routes, whether it's trying to stop a team on 3rd and 10, like disasters lurking around the corner at every bend for this team, and like they run right into it. I made a tweet about the fact that outside of the Miami game, has a Florida State fan been able to feel good about this team for literally more than 1 minute of like real time, Corey, not even a game clock? Like they put together a pretty good touchdown drive against Notre Dame finally. Like, oh, hey, look at this. And then they get the extra point blocked.
Yeah, I know.
And then they respond, then the last touchdown, the last score of the game for Florida State, another pretty good drive, excuse me. And then the very next drive, Notre Dame just rips it right down their gullet and scores again.
Give up a long quarterback scramble, right, on 3rd and 10.
Yeah.
And then just 55 yards right up the gut.
The 4th and 1 where they bring in the beef package, where they bring in Robert Cooper and Corey Durd and Marvin Wilson, and they're under center. You're like, well, what are they doing? And they run a quarterback sneak. Like, fantastic, awesome just decoration or whatever you want to call it, just eye candy. Like, great little thing to do right there. You're thinking they're going to go power at that side. No, just they're going to sneak in and get the first down. Then they go back to that. And then they get nothing out of it. Like, they went back to that package, and it was, 4th and goal? I don't know, on the 5 or the 4, and they go play action. What are you doing? Everyone knows you're not going to run it there. Like, they do something good. They find something that works, and then they find ways to drag even the positive developments into negative plays. I guess culture's part of it, but there's just every opportunity this team has to hit a fork in the road, choose your own adventure, go to page 111, and you're the hero. You go to page 134, and then you're the GOAT. Like, they always go the wrong way. And I don't know how much of that is them learning how to win again, or them forgetting how to lose, or they revert to bad habits. But if it's not good personnel, if it's not coaches putting them in the right position, it's just there's so many things at this point that you can't fix any of it, obviously, here in the next 2 weeks. And it's almost now to a point where I don't even know how you really fix it for 19, man. I don't know how many more good players you're going to get in here. And I don't know how many of these guys that are problems now are going to have huge epiphanies after 15 more spring practices and another camp to Bradenton maybe. And then, this whole thing, it's I don't know. You talk about Willie having a bad schedule, man. I don't know if did this team need another hard ass to get them back in line after how bad things got with Jimbo, because they like Willie, they're playing hard for Willie, but it's I don't know.
I guess that's the point. So last year they had a hard ass that would chew him out, guy that with a great pedigree who'd won a lot of games in a national title. And they were 4-6 after 10 games. This year, they have a really nice guy that they like playing for. He's fun to practice with. They try to have fun. Well, they're 4-6 after 10 games. So at some point, I get that he's not doing a good job this year. Nobody in their right mind could argue that this staff has done a good job with this football team. But at some point, we are all going to realize this football team is this football team. They had a national championship head coach last year, and they went 4-6 against an easy schedule.
Yeah.
They have a guy that's won some games and turned programs around. They like a lot. Really genuine dude. Love playing for him. He holds them accountable. They're 4-6 after 10 games. So I don't know what other options we want to pick out from the sky about what kind of coaches is going to work with these guys. Maybe it's the guys. Maybe they're just not that good. The quarterback play certainly hasn't been great. The offensive line is a disaster, and it was a disaster for both coaches. The defense is just Well, no, the defense is bad now. Last year the defense was okay, but it's bad now. And again, we got to see what happens next year. This season is a complete wash. It is not. There's been nothing redeeming about it. But I just think 10 games taking over this program and this team that was not a good team last year. I was just completely and utterly naive to think that with this schedule and that offensive line that they were going to be able to win 8 or 9 or 10 games. And I don't think again, Jimbo was coached these same guys last year. They were 4-6, really close to being 2-8, really close. So it's not like it was at a good place and Willie kind of pushed it over a cliff. It was already steamrolling down. He hasn't been able to stop it at all. In fact, you could say he's accelerated it. But maybe he's just accelerating it to get to the bottom quicker, Aslan, so you get that ramp. You hit that ramp and you start going up at a greater speed. You see what I'm saying? Like when I used to do bike tricks, the Tony Hawk stuff on my BMX.
Oh yeah.
You don't want to go down that ramp real slow because then you're not going to get any air. You can't do hardly any tricks. Dude, you got to hit that ramp going full speed. You get to the bottom, you come back up on the other side, and you're doing McTwists and McSorleys and everything under the sun. And that was my life as a teenager. And I'm telling you, I think that's what Taggart's doing. He's trying to speed it up so much that when they get to the bottom of the ramp, they're going to come right back up that half pipe, baby. And they're going to be doing twisty twist McDoos in 720s and 980s. They're going to be winning. You won't even believe the kind of trophies they're going to win at the X Games. Do you hear what I'm saying, Aslan? Is any of this making sense?
Are they going to do so much winning that we're going to get tired of winning?
It's going to be like Alabama. It's going to be like Alabama fans. Like, how was that even enjoyable this weekend for them? 24-0. I bet most of them left there kind of disappointed. Like, 3 touchdowns. One of them shouldn't have counted because we fumbled and they didn't call it. Didn't even review it. Man, this kind of sucked. I don't like this. They probably didn't even sleep well Saturday night. I think Florida State fans should all sleep well knowing, baby, he's got this thing full speed going downhill. And you best believe when it hits that ramp and comes back the other way, it's going to be flying Everest high. Believe it, folks. Believe it.
What's crazy is I have really nothing else to add. I thought I had a whole bunch of good things to bring to the show today. I feel like I really haven't contributed anything except for complaining.
Hey, how was Chicago?
Stuff.
How was the trip?
Oh, the trip was great, man. Shout out to the boys from Volusia County. Jeremy, friend of the program, I bumped into him at one of the functions, and he was with a couple of his buddies, and we bar hopped a couple places. That was cool. Some War Chant subscribers, some friends of the program.
Right.
That was a good thing Friday night. I missed the yacht party. My Uber kind of left me high and dry. I wasn't able to get to the pier in time, so I missed out on that. But I went and did like a one-man tourist bar crawl thing by myself, so that was cool. Big Chicago fan, big-time Chicago fan, Corey. I like New Orleans is my favorite American city. I would usually put New York maybe second. I think maybe Chicago crept ahead of New York. I think Chicago might have crept ahead of New York. I think they're number 2 now for me.
I like Chicago a lot. The weather is a disaster 5 or 6 months out of the year, but the city itself, if it could just be in like Texas with a warmer climate, I would live in Chicago, man. I love that place.
So a quick story. Talking to my friends, I'm like, hey, is there anybody that we know in Chicago that I can hang out with? Because, I was up there pretty much, by myself. Ira was doing the family thing, and, I went up solo. So they're like, oh, yeah, there's that one girl, Brienne, that we went to high school with. And I'm like, and they were kind of being facetious because I didn't get along with this girl at all. At all. Like, we constantly warred. It was very annoying. Anyhow, so a part of my bar crawl, my whole thing was, I'm going to go to a tourist destination, and then I'm going to go to the nearest bar and grab a bourbon. So I went to the Bean, like that big, silver reflective thing, or whatever. Everyone has photos in front of. Went there, went across the street, grabbed the bourbon. Then I went to the Sears Tower, which is now called by another name, but it's still the Sears Tower to me, damn it. And went and got a picture up there. Then I went to a neighboring bar, grabbed a shot of Jack. We then went to Wrigley Field. My cousin is actually from Chicago, but he no longer lives there. And I'm like, where's the most quintessential Wrigley bar to go to? And he's like, go to the Cubby Bear. Everyone loves the Cubby Bear, and it's literally right across from Wrigley, and it is. It's right across from that iconic marquee sign that says "Welcome to Wrigley Field." So I go to the Cubby Bear, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we're closed for a private party at 5 p.m." And I'm like, "Well, it's like 4:50." They're like, "Well, if you want to drink fast," I'm like, "No, I kind of want to relax. It's been a long day." So I go across the street to this shiny bar. It's called the Sports Corner or something. It looks really nice, 2-level bar. And then I walk inside, and it's just there's nobody in there at all, Corey. Literally, there isn't one single person, a patron or a customer in that entire place. I walk in there, and then the bartender's like, welcome in. How can I help you? And I'm like, yeah, I just want to get a drink. And sure enough, who's the bartender but that girl that my friends joked about giving a call and hanging out with that I never got along with? She was the bartender at the bar that I walked into.
Well, did you make amends?
Yeah. Oh, kind of. We talked a little bit, and then she gave me my tab, and then I just bounced on the tab. So,
good for her. Good. And she won't be able to, she's not going to track you down for that kind of money.
Yeah, whatever, man. No, actually, no, we did make amends. It was, I guess her and her husband, I think, actually, she said they run 2 bars that are right there in that vicinity in Wrigleyville or whatever. So,
did she recognize you?
What's that?
Did she recognize you?
Yeah. Oh, as soon as because it was she was walking from the kitchen into the bar because she heard the door open, and I'm walking up, and then I recognized her, and I literally am just like, you have got to be effing kidding me, and she started laughing too, and she's like, holy crap, and so I just went ahead and ordered my drink, and then she actually charged my cell phone for me because I was running low on power. I was going to be able to Uber back to the hotel. But yeah, we shot the breeze. It was cool. She comped me the drink. I threw $5 just cuz or whatever. So it was cool. There's one less person I have to worry about coming back and seeking revenge on me and my loved ones. So that's
what a wonderful, heartwarming story, Aslan. Good job. Hey, I wanted to correct you real quick though. I did not watch the game from my home. Okay. It was Stephanie's 40th birthday celebration. So we went to a local establishment that had a band playing that she really liked. And I'm going to tell you guys, you might want to think about this the next 2 weeks. If you just kind of half pay attention to the game, I'd look at my phone, say, oh, Florida State's got the ball. I would kind of mosey into the bar area where the TV was, watch it kind of, I'd half watch the game and half listen to the music. Man, that's a really enjoyable way to watch a Florida State football game in 2018. Kind of just half, don't even care what happens. The first play, I watched my phone. I just wanted to see if the game had started, and I looked and saw, okay, well, the second play, he threw an interception that was returned to the 2. All right, well, that's a good start. So yeah, I mean, once you're kind of not even really invested that much in the game itself because you know how it's going to turn out, it was more enjoyable that way.
The crazy thing again, Corey, I think I didn't bring anything to the show, so I apologize. I'll get better tomorrow. At the same time, I have like nothing to say, but I also feel like I could sit here for another like 2 hours and continue to complain about this team. It's such a bizarre thing. I almost feel like I'm feigning my anger because when the games are happening, I'm not getting upset. I'm on the text message with my brother and all of his friends, and they're just every single play. This kid's a bum. What is he doing? We suck. And I'm like, it doesn't even bother me.
Like, really, they really are like that now. Like, we're 10 games in now. Like, how could anybody like still get? I mean, I understand getting angry at like certain moments.
Yeah.
But I mean, when it's 17-0, isn't it just kind of just? Oh, well, let's just see what happens. Like, how could anybody get mad about anything? Like, it is what it is. This team is what it is. And, like, you can't – if every time they gave up a big play or did something awful or punted or turned it over, you got irate, well, man, that's going to send people to the hospital. You think by this time everybody'd be used to it and just to be like gallows humor. Like, oh, man, I wonder if we'll get to 14. Wonder if we'll score 20. I wonder if we'll hold them to under 300 yards rushing. Whatever the case may be, so people are still really getting upset.
My friends are getting upset. I know my brother and his buddy that I'm on the group text with. Yeah, they're
But what did they expect? Like, they didn't even have a lot of penalties.
Yeah, they did make some progress there. Well, the thing is, like, this team, this is the good and the bad, and this is the interesting, I think, to me. This is the only thing that maybe is somewhat of a good talking point, and then we can head home. Or head to sleep. It's like 2 a.m. They're still playing hard for him. They still believe. Like, they were talking crap to the crowd in the pregame, and not like in an ugly way. This isn't like I'm not the whole anti-dance crowd or whatever. But like they're looking at the Notre Dame crowd and like goading them on, like, waving their hands like, oh, come on, get louder, I can't hear you. This is like during pregame warm-ups or whatever. Like they were embracing the opportunity, the moment, like the number 3 team in the nation, nationwide television or national broadcast or however you're supposed to say it, because I don't even know how to talk right now. Like, they're embracing it, man. Like they feel like they can win, and then every single week he's getting them up, and they continue to like lose and then lose bad. And there's no reason to think they're not going to come out and play their balls off against Boston College on Saturday. And there's no reason to think they're not going to try to do it again against Florida as well. But if they keep – I just wonder how much of Willie this – like, I'm going to be the happy warrior. Like, no matter what, I'm not going to stop the music. I'm not going to start yelling at you guys. I'm going to keep believing in you guys. I'm going to keep loving the hell out of you because I do appreciate what you guys are – the effort you're putting forth. I just wonder at what point – like, I don't want to say that stuff gets drowned out. I just wonder how long that's sustainable, like, if he's going to have to ever take a turn as, like, bad cop, Like, who's the bad cop
I think
right
he's
now?
done this enough, man. I mean, I do. I think he's got a little bit of Leonard Hamilton in him where he likes the reclamation stuff. Florida State fans don't want to hear that, and they're certainly not going to wait 4 years for this thing to get turned around. But he's done it. He's done it at other places, and I don't think he did it by completely changing who he was. Like, he might have changed an offensive philosophy, but the person that he is and the way he interacts with those kids, I don't think he's going to change that because of what this season has become. And you wouldn't want him to.
Yeah.
You want him to be who he is. And I think over the long haul, he thinks his philosophy is going to win out, and he's going to win big here over the long haul. He's got to put up with a gross couple of speed bumps. This year has been basically just been a ravine, and then who knows what next year will be. But, he thinks that it's going to be worth it, that he's going to turn this thing around like he turned around Western Kentucky and South Florida. It's a completely different ball game here in Tallahassee. We all know that, but that's what he thinks. And, he's got a history of doing it. But, again, quit losing by 30 points, Willie. Quit getting down 17-0 every game.
See, he pointed that out, that the slow starts are a problem. But even if they started 14, if they even went up 14-0 against Boston College, it's not a sure thing they're going to win the game.
100%. But wouldn't it be fun to see it?
Yeah.
Just to see what happens. Maybe this is an incredible front-running team. Although they showed in Miami that's not necessarily the case. But holy moly, 17-0? The first play is a pick, or the second play. Sorry.
Play.
And I know we can say McKitty should have caught that. Holy cow! That would have been the best catch of Trey McKitty's career.
It was a rifle.
He literally turned around and the ball was hitting him in the shoulder pad. Yeah. Like I get that we can call that technically a drop, but holy moly! And maybe it's harder to throw with touch in the cold, and I'm not being facetious. I don't know, but that was a rifle shot that would have been a really incredible catch for of course a 1.5 yard gain. As it turned out, they intercepted it, ran it down to the 2, and that was kind of the ball game. Didn't you think it was over then, right then?
I tweeted out there's 2 scenarios tonight. Either Florida State scores first and this becomes a dogfight into the fourth quarter, but they'll ultimately lose in a close one, or something deflating is going to happen early and it's just going to start the rout. But, I mean, they still played hard. That's the thing, that it's encouraging that, like, after that pick, they should have just rolled over. But I don't think this team has ever really rolled over, man. Even after what he said about the Clemson game, I've never looked at that team roll out into the field and be like, they're not even trying. They don't care.
No, I don't think. Once they got down, they're just not equipped to come back. But that doesn't mean they're not out there. I mean, that doesn't mean they're just out there going through the motions. I mean, they got down. Was it 32-6, and then they scored. And then I think they had the ball deep in their territory, maybe close, had a chance to maybe make it 32-20. It was
after the pick. Yeah, it was after the pick, and then.
Yeah, and then of course they, and I thought maybe he'd even kick a field goal there. I mean, but it just wouldn't matter. But even if they'd have scored there to make it 32-20, they're not equipped to score 2 more times or to hold Notre Dame if Notre Dame's actually trying to score. So, but I guess it was nice that they didn't just completely collapse, and they did make. They did make Notre Dame have to play some in the third and fourth quarter. They didn't just go away, even though they were down 32-6. But it just you give them when you're not as good and you're not nearly as good as Notre Dame, you can't give them the ball at the 2, and you can't give them the ball at the 13. You gave them 14 points. Now one of them was, or I guess 10 points, because they kicked a field goal after the Akers fumble, I think. Maybe they scored a touchdown there. I can't remember. But both of those touchdowns were just incredible catches. They were. Now, again, your DBs can turn around. They can turn around and learn to look and bat a ball down. That would be nice. But, at some point you give the other guys credit, and those were incredible catches. And that quarterback's just not very good at all. But he didn't have to be, did he?
No.
But, hey, you know what? The basketball team won.
The
basketball team might be pretty darn good, Aslan. And the women beat Florida for, I believe, the 5th year in a row. In fact, I think the football, men's basketball team, and women's basketball team all have 5-game winning streaks over Florida.
That will keep me warm at night. Couple things before we go. DeAndre Francois actually graded out the highest on the offense, 78.9. Jawan Williams was the lowest ranked on offense, 32.6. His pass blocking was 22.7. Arthur Williams, who started and played every snap at left guard, 23.7 on the pass blocking. So maybe the offensive line wasn't any better than we thought. It looked better to me, but what do I know? And here's a stat for you, Corey. I kind of did this on the fly, so let's take it with a grain of salt. And also, I'm not trying to make any big picture thing, but if you guys want kerosene to pour on your anti-Willie stuff, here you go. Although I'm not. Like, Willie continues to have different emotions after every game, which to me is kind of, it's endearing. Like I told Ira, like I really feel bad for him, and not like in a pity sort of he's in over his head way. It's not that at all. It's just, damn, he cares, and I think he feels that things are going to get better soon, but it's not happening. And just the way his emotions at these press conferences, man, it's really tough to watch because again, I think he's a guy who cares, and it's something different, and it's crazy. Anyhow, Bobby Petrino got fired. You saw that, right, Corey?
I did see that, yeah.
All right, so with Bobby Petrino getting fired, Willie Taggart has beat 9 Power 5 schools, by my estimation: Nebraska, Cal, Utah, Arizona, Oregon State, Wake Forest, Louisville, Kentucky, and Syracuse. With Bobby Petrino getting fired, Willie Taggart has now 5 of the Power 5 teams he has defeated. The head coach has either gotten fired in the season or immediately after.
Hey, he's the coach killer.
That's what he is. That's what he is. That's what he does.
He's the coach killer. By the way, that Louisville team. They literally, after that Florida State game, they just cashed it all in.
Ugh.
Holy moly. And you know what's funny about college football, man? What's so goofy? So Florida fans are loving life right now. 7-3. Have already improved by 2 or 3 games over last year. They play Idaho and Florida State. So they have a legitimate shot at a 9 or 10 win season. I don't know if you watched a second of that game on Saturday.
I watched a little bit of it.
They were down 31-14.
I saw it go 31-14 and thought, thank God. All right, good. They're going to lose.
So they're down 31-14. It is a third down with 2.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Ball gets snapped. Franks drops it. It's a bad snap. It rolls around on the ground. He picks it up. He just throws it up for grabs in the middle of the field. A South Carolina guy hits right off his shoulder pad, deflects in the air. A Florida guy not only catches it, but catches it for a first down. And as he's fighting for extra yardage, the South Carolina defensive back rips the ball away, picks it up, and starts running with the fumble the other way, but they ruled that his forward progress had stopped. Or they blew a whistle too early is what they did, because we watch these games all the time where it'll be 5 seconds before they blow a whistle. Anyway, they go down and score on that drive to make it 31-21, come back and win the game. I am telling you, I was watching a lot of that game. I saw Frank shush the crowd. I saw that they were booing him. If that pass is just incomplete and they have to punt, the game's over. And if it's intercepted or the fumble counts and it's returned down to the Florida 15, the game is not only over, but it's going to be a rout. Instead, Florida ends up winning. That's how close. So, again, you can't argue that Florida State's played anywhere close as well as Florida, because even the games Florida's lost, aside, even the Georgia one, they competed.
It's respectable.
They were ahead in the third quarter. But they are that close to being 6-4 and feeling really bad about things because they were about to get blown out at home for the second week in a row. And Felipe Franks is shushing his own home crowd. They're booing him. It was going to be a mess. And now it's kumbaya, 7-3, about to be 9-3. It's just it's crazy how literally that one play might have changed the whole course of a season in, I don't know, maybe his tenure. Maybe Florida wins 10 games. Florida State and Miami both win 4 or 5. And Mullen cleans up in recruiting because of that. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was just crazy how small the margins can be sometimes. Now, when it comes to Florida State, there hadn't been a lot of small margins this year, other than you could say maybe the play against Miami that should have been a touchdown.
I actually had a question for you, but it's a good off-season question, and we're going late.
It's too long. We've been talking. I said this was going to be the shortest one we'd ever did because of the late start time, and then we there's always so much to talk about after these debacles.
There is, but I feel like I just yelled at everybody, and I'm sorry for yelling at everybody. We're going to go talk to Willie on Monday later today because I'm not even speaking in future tense, like it's literally Monday right now. Man, we didn't mail it in on you guys. We'll talk to him. We'll ask him some questions. I don't even know really what to ask. I almost feel bad at this point. What is there left to ask?
And also, we can ask the quarterback, but what does it matter? I mean, I know why
he came
I
out
want
the
him
gate
to play.
swinging on the quarterback topic, Corey. Like, I don't even know why he's starting 12 still. Who cares?
But I mean, like if it's for a red shirt, he's not going to tell us. To me, that doesn't make sense because why would you have played against Wake and Clemson if you wanted to red shirt the kid? Yeah. But whatever, fine. Let's just. It's almost like it's a race to get the season over with, which is fine. Sad. I just, whatever. I don't know. I'm sure he's not going to come out and tell us. I'll probably say DeAndre played all right. He's still the starter. Blah blah blah, and we'll move on. And then next year we'll have another quarterback competition, I guess, and then we'll know late August who the quarterback's going to be for the 2019 Fighting Seminoles.
Damn, he really gave a lot of cover to DeAndre with the drops. The drops really made him upset. But, hey, for the 7th time, let me try to end this show.
Sorry.
Last question, Corey. How do you pronounce the team that's coming to play Florida State next Monday in men's basketball?
It's Canisius, right?
Okay, yeah. I thought it was Canisius.
No, I think it's Canisius. No, you're thinking of Tamarian instead of Tamorian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, even though there's no E there, we're going to call my man Tamarian.
All right.
So,
all right. Let's break. We'll be back tomorrow, folks. Thanks for listening.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.